The world remembers Ipman as the calm and disciplined Wing Chun master, the teacher of Bruce Lee, and the symbol of martial arts tradition. His legend is often told through stories of his early struggles in Foshan, his resistance during wartime, and his quiet strength in Hong Kong. But beyond the well-known tales lies another side of his life, one that is rarely spoken about. This side was not about wooden dummies or lessons inside the walls of a school. It was about the real-world battles he faced, against enemies who did not respect rules or honor, in places where fists were not for discipline, but for survival. After Ipman settled in Hong Kong, life was anything but easy. Poverty shadowed him, and the responsibility of caring for his family weighed heavily. His school struggled to stay alive. Students came with eagerness, but many could not afford to pay. Ipman never turned them away because his belief in passing down Wing Chun mattered more than money. Still, this generosity often left him with little to provide for his own household. Quietly, he endured these hardships, but those struggles soon drew him into confrontations beyond teaching. In Hong Kong's hidden corners, underground fighting dens thrived. They were brutal places where fighters clashed for money, pride, and blood. Respect and honor meant nothing there. Only survival and profit mattered. When rumors spread about a modest Wing Chun teacher who could defeat skilled fighters with speed and ease, curiosity quickly turned to hostility. The men who ran these dens knew his presence was a threat to their control. One evening, as Ipman was locking the shutters of his small school, a scar-faced young man approached him. With a mocking bow, he handed Ipman a folded note. "You've been invited," the man sneered, "to show your skills where real men fight." Ipman knew this was not an invitation. It was a warning. Refusal could mean trouble for his students, maybe even violence against his school. So, with quiet resolve, he agreed. The warehouse he entered that night smelled of smoke, sweat, and spilled liquor. Rough voices cheered around a raised wooden platform where men fought like animals. From the crowd emerged a tattooed fighter known as Black Tiger. He was a local champion feared for his ferocity. "I've heard of your Wing Chun," he mocked. "Let's see if it survives here." When the fight began, Black Tiger lunged like a storm, fists swinging with raw aggression. But Ipman was unshaken. His arms moved in calm, efficient circles, redirecting the wild strikes. In a flash he struck, rapid punches to the chest and chin. Black Tiger stumbled but roared back, trying to grapple with brute force. Ipman's stance shifted, his body flowing like water. And with a sharp palm strike he sent the larger man crashing down. The crowd gasped. Some cheered, some cursed. Ipman, however, showed no pride. He bowed slightly and said, "Martial arts is not meant for this." Then he walked away, leaving silence behind him. That night was only the beginning. Word spread quickly. Ipman was not only a teacher, he was a man no one could break. To the people, he became a figure of respect. To the gangs, he became a threat. Weeks later, on the bustling docks of Hong Kong, another test awaited. A towering foreign sailor had gained notoriety by humiliating Chinese workers, mocking their traditions and beating anyone who resisted. The workers endured his cruelty, helpless against his strength. When Ipman visited the docks to see a student, he found the sailor forcing a young man to kneel. Something in him stirred, and he stepped forward. The sailor smirked. "Another small one? I'll crush you." The clash was brutal. The sailor's heavy fists and kicks carried frightening power, each one enough to break bones. But Ipman's defense was masterful. He absorbed, redirected, and moved with perfect timing. When the sailor raised his arm for a final crushing blow, Ipman countered with lightning strikes, punches to the ribs, an elbow to the jaw, a flurry of Wing Chun attacks. The giant fell to the ground, groaning in disbelief. The workers erupted with cheers, their humiliation finally avenged. Ipman stood calmly, adjusting his sleeves. "Strength without discipline is nothing," he said quietly before leaving. These battles were never about fame. They were about protecting dignity in a harsh world. But every victory brought new enemies. Gangs grew more hostile. Foreign fighters arrived seeking glory, and even corrupt officials began to see Ipman as a threat. The true test came when an international martial arts exhibition was held in a grand hall. Masters from across Asia, Europe, and America gathered to showcase their styles. Karate, judo, Muay Thai, boxing, Each was represented. The organizers invited Ipman, curious to see if Wing Chun could stand against the world's best. When he entered, hundreds of eyes followed him. Fighters from every background were eager to test him. The first challenger was a disciplined Japanese karate master. His kicks sliced through the air, fast and precise. Ipman closed the distance, neutralizing long-range strikes with his tight, controlled deflections. Their clash was intense, a contest of precision versus adaptability. Eventually, the karate master bowed in respect, acknowledging Ipman's superiority. More fighters came, wrestlers, boxers, Thai fighters, each bringing their strength. Each time Ipman adapted, reading movements, countering perfectly, and striking with impeccable timing. By the end, the crowd was in awe, but as applause echoed, dark schemes brewed. The gangs could not allow Ipman's reputation to grow further. That night, danger followed him into the streets. In a dim alley, armed men surrounded him. Their leader, a scarred man with a chain, promised to leave him broken. They attacked with sticks and knives, but Ipman moved with calm precision. He deflected strikes, disarmed blades, and countered with rapid punches. Blood marked his hands, yet his focus never broke. Finally, he faced the leader's chain. Timing his step perfectly, he caught it, redirected the force, and struck with blinding speed. The man crumbled. Ipman turned, silent, and walked away. But the gangs escalated further. They brought in mercenary fighters, men who lived only for violence. The most feared among them was a massive ex-boxer from the West, known as Iron Jack. His fists were said to crush bone, his presence terrifying. The fight was set in a dockside warehouse, attended by criminals and corrupt officials. When Ipman entered, the atmosphere felt like a storm waiting to break. Jack sneered. "You're small, I'll crush you before they even finish cheering." The battle was thunderous. Jack's punches slammed like hammers, shaking the ground. Ipman's arms absorbed the force, redirecting blow after blow. When Jack overcommitted, Ipman slipped inside, delivering a flurry of chain punches. The giant staggered. He roared, grappling fiercely, but Ipman pivoted, redirected, and unbalanced him. The fight grew faster, more desperate. Finally, Ipman unleashed a storm of strikes, punches, elbows, and a precise palm strike to the solar plexus. Jack collapsed to his knees, breathless, defeated. The warehouse fell silent. Ipman bowed slightly, calm even in victory. The gangs realized they could not break him, yet they also knew his influence would never fade. Soon, corrupt officials began to pressure him directly. They wanted him silenced, his school closed. But Ipman never stopped teaching. To his students, he passed down not just Wing Chun techniques, but philosophy. Balance, humility, protection of the weak. One young boy once asked, "Master, if martial arts is not for fighting, why do you fight?" Ipman smiled gently. "Because sometimes the world forces us. But remember, the purpose is not to destroy, but to protect." Years passed, and though the threats never vanished, many gangs collapsed under their own shame. Foreign fighters moved on, unable to defeat him. Through it all, Ipman's quiet strength inspired generations. When Bruce Lee later trained under him, he not only learned Wing Chun but absorbed this philosophy. Bruce would carry it to the West, spreading the belief that martial arts was not violence, but a way of life rooted in respect. The stories of Ipman's real-world fights became whispers across Hong Kong. Some recalled the night at the docks. Others remembered the alley where he fought armed men. A few spoke of the exhibition where he stood against the world's masters. Ipman himself never boasted. To him, they were not victories, they were burdens. True martial arts, he believed, was not measured by applause, but by the quiet strength to face whatever life demanded. In his final years, weakened by illness, his students often gathered to hear him speak. Though frail, his wisdom remained sharp. He told them, "Do not seek to be feared, seek to be respected, and when you fight, remember why you fight." The real world had tested him with criminals, mercenaries, and corrupt power. Each time he endured not because of brute force, but because of discipline and heart. And so the legacy of Ipman is not just the calm teacher of Wing Chun or the man who trained Bruce Lee. It is also the untold story of the battles he fought in silence. Battles that proved true, mastery is not in conquering others, but in protecting what is right.